He didn't quit. That was surprising.
All right, we are going live. All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Miami Dolphins Syndicate. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I know nobody else is in here right now, but once you do join, welcome to the stream. Jets week, a little bit different. It's the first ever Black Friday football game going on. The Dolphins and the Jets. A game that was a little more exciting in the beginning of the season until Mr. Aaron Rodgers decided he didn't need his Achilles anymore. But before we get into all that, Donovan, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. How about yourself?
My elbow kind of hurts. Other than that, I'm chilling. The
Why'd your elbow hurt, sir?
I don't know. Like recently, when I've been throwing the football. So before we get into this, we're going to go. Well, I say we. I am going to be going and playing football tomorrow. Donovan will not be joining. We have our Turkey Bowl every single year. And trying to get warmed up, trying to get ready for it. I've been playing football for 2 months, but recently when I've been throwing the football, it's been hurting my elbow. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. It's probably my form, my technique or something. But yeah,
It
it's been
is.
hurting a little bit.
It is. It's definitely something with your throwing motion. What's up, Khalil? We know a lot of you are probably prepping for Thanksgiving, so we thank you for dropping in while you're prepping.
Well, speaking of, and those watching along, I want to hear your input too. But Donovan, man, as kindly as I can say this, I know you're a man who likes to eat, as am I. We're not ashamed of that. We're not ashamed of that. We like to eat food. And going into Thanksgiving, if you have to pick one dish as your favorite Thanksgiving dish, what is it?
Deep fried turkey.
I believe you
Honestly,
that's gonna be good, and because he's gonna be cooking for our Thanksgiving or our Friendsgiving, some deep
Thanksgiving,
fried
yeah.
turkey. Not the turkey. The actual important stuff of Thanksgiving dinner. What's your favorite dish? The sides, basically. The sides slash desserts.
Probably the baked mac and cheese.
Big mac and cheese. Are we team sweet potato or we team pumpkin?
Ooh, I'm gonna go pumpkin.
Pumpkin as well. Pumpkin. That's the right choice. For me, I mean, since I'm getting tasked with making it, that cornbread casserole. I mean, I've never made it before. I'm gonna be making it for our friendsgiving. I have no idea if it's gonna end up any good. But dude, I've had it a few times when a certain ex girlfriend's mom of mine made it, and it was delicious. But desserts, I gotta go apple over pumpkin, but between pumpkin and sweet potato, I'm definitely going pumpkin pie. There is nothing better than a good piece of apple pie with like a vanilla scoop of ice cream.
What's up, Armando?
What it
Fins
do?
up, baby.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know
I'm
what
gonna
y'all favorite Thanksgiving
yeah,
dishes are in the
my
comments.
my my favorite dessert. So I have two different family functions I go to every year. So on my mom's side, we have someone that makes chocolate delight, which is kind of like a Oreo pie, but in a big pan, and it's so good. And then on my dad's side, we have dirt cake, and I know you know what dirt cake is. Both of those are amazing, but my mom's homemade pecan pie with just like nice and warm with a ton of Cool Whip. Now I know you're a guy that can't have pecan
I
pie.
cannot. I cannot. Well, to be fair, I've never
You
tried
will
it.
literally die, but
I
it is so good.
don't know if I die because I've had like I have like a mild nut allergy to pretty much all nuts, but like I said, it's mild. So I've had peanuts and I'm not dead. I've had almonds and I'm not dead.
Wait,
So I'm not sure if that would
we
actually kill me.
have we have some breaking news. The Dolphins dropped their uniform decision a minute ago. It is going to be the all icy white.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like as if we're making like a uniform change going
Well,
forward.
it was loading. It was loading on my screen. So it probably the Jets are going to be wearing their all green, which is why we're forced to wear all white. As you know, home team gets to choose the uniform choice.
I wish they
So
would
yeah,
wear
that's
those alternate ones that the Jets had. Those are pretty nice.
I I do like those. What do you think about the Dolphins winning the division this
If it
season? I
doesn't
think
happen, God help
if
us.
if it doesn't happen, yeah, exactly. Like
If
I
it
know
doesn't,
we only have like what a 2 game lead on it right now. I
a game
think
and a
there's
half. But if we win when they're on bye, it becomes two because they
okay,
haven't
so
had their
game and
bye
a
week yet.
half. It's so weird. But I thought they would have had it when they came back from London, but
Yeah, well, that was
um
really that was pretty early in the
it
season. That
was
was like week
week
6.
5.
Yeah,
Week
5 or
5 or 6,
6.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand them wanting to wait. Like I think our bye week was perfectly timed because it's like slightly across that halfway point of the season. You're coming back from Germany. So you got less than half the way to go. Let everybody heal up. Like I would hate to have like a week 4 bye or the week 13 bye, which the Bills do have.
Yeah, yeah. Even week 14, that's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's disgusting for all fantasy
there's no
footballers
week
out there
14
too.
buys.
There are.
No, they're not.
Washington has a week 14. Yes, they do.
Washington has a week 14 bye.
Yes.
There's no
Washington is week
chance.
4. I'm telling you,
I
Washington
believe
does.
you, but my football knowledge as a fan is like that's so stupid. Name a
Mm.
Washington. Okay, actually, I have a Washington Commanders playing. Where's Terry McLaurin's schedule? I cracked my phone a little bit more before we went live. So
Oh, jeez.
yeah, this thing's beat up. Dear God, you're right. That's atrocious.
Let me see who else. It's Arizona Cardinals as well.
Oh, great.
Oh, but
Let's go. Week 14, I'll have Kyler Murray and Terry McLaurin on bye.
and that's going to be an important one for seeding. I'm not sure if you saw. I know it's a little bit irrelevant to the Dolphins, but for our dynasty league, so I'm fighting for. We have 6 spots, and 7 people are really like in the hunt for a spot. I'm the 7th right now. I'm a game behind, but I have more points
Don't
than the guy
matter.
in front
Don't
of me.
matter. Don't matter.
Wait. He's playing the second place guy this week. I'm playing the third place guy this week. So if I
I'm the third
win and
place
he
guy.
loses, I'm playing Brandon. What place is Brandon?
Second.
He's second?
Yeah, I'm
What place
third.
is Dylan?
Dylan's fourth.
Oh, well.
I just
So I'm
realized I never
playing
did the
second.
power rankings. Oops.
Yeah, so I'm playing Brandon, he's playing Dylan. If I'm projected to win, he has Joe Burrow and possibly Geno out this week. So he's gonna only have Baker Mayfield. Meanwhile, I have CJ Stroud and Tua. So if I win, Zoe loses, I jump into the 6th spot, and then Zoe and I play next week. So that's really going to be like whoever wins that has a real shot at winning that
Okay.
last playoff spot.
I'm pretty much a lock
And
at this point. I'm trying to get to the buys. That's all I really care about at this point in the season is can I win enough to get a buy?
I was so close last week. If I had won, it like last week went the worst possible scenario. If I won and the other 2 6 and 4 teams lost, I was gonna jump all the way to 3rd. Instead, I dropped all the way out of the playoffs.
Which you've been all year long. You were in the playoffs for like 10 minutes and then you're out again.
Yeah, I mean, last week was the first time I was actually in the playoffs the entire season.
Exactly.
But I mean, I started out 0-4, and now I'm 6-4, so we rad.
Yeah, I kind of hope you lose just for the memes. Hard Knocks
Yeah.
was fun. That was
Hard Knocks was fun.
look, my perspective on Hard Knocks has been, look, it's not my problem. I'm not the one who's in house. I'm not the one who has to deal with it. I'm a fan. I want to see as much as my team as possible. So I see it as a cool thing. Yeah, it could be a little bit of distraction, and that's what we got to see actually with their opening scene. Was Mike Medino addressing the team, telling them how they're not going to make it a distraction, how they fought too hard. He put it up on the screen. If you haven't watched Hard Knocks, I guess maybe you should skip this bit, but don't, because just be here and support us. Like had up on the board, like the amount of days, the amount of practices, the amount of games, and like that they've already done, and then how many days, how many practices, how many games they've got left, and that's only the guaranteed ones. So that's like only to the end of the regular season.
That.
Yes.
He made sure to say that. Yeah, he was like that. These are the guaranteed to us. At least these games, possibly even more.
Yeah,
So
I
he's
think
like, if you're not putting every last bit of effort in, then you should be ashamed of yourself. Was also something that he said. It was along those lines. I'm not sure if that's the exact quote, but it was along those lines.
Yeah, I thought to me the funniest part was I texted you about it like immediately. I'm like, Tyreek Hill choose dip. Like that's not something that I expected to see, and it wasn't like obvious. Like he wasn't spitting or putting it in his mouth. But like doing one of their interviews, he talked to him like this, and you just see the thickness of his lip, and that lip's not moving. He's talking like this. I'm like, I did not see that one coming. I mean, hey, do what you want to do. It's a free country, but like Tyreek Hill chewing dip was not on the bingo card for things I thought I was gonna see on the episode.
So, one of the greatest controversies from Hard Knocks, the first episode, whose fault was it with the nachos?
Oh, it's the girl. She smacked it out of his hand. What are you talking about? Tyreek's wife.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of people were blaming the guy. A lot of people were saying that it was scripted because a lot of the people behind them kept changing, and I'm like, that's just Miami sports stadiums. People change seats all the time.
And what a weird thing to script, like knocking nachos
Yeah.
out of a hand. Like that's
Like,
like as if that's the main point of the episode was her getting her hair
yeah.
ruined and the mom getting it all over the shirt. Like that's not
Yeah.
that's not
It,
what I
it
was
was.
watching.
That's not exactly what I was paying attention to. Funny enough, Tyreek addressed it today. He said that his wife made him watch it last night, and he's like, the whole nacho thing. Yeah, it was her fault. Like, and he said it hilariously too. I can't uh, do it the way he did it, but he said it in such a hilarious way. Like, if you know and watch Tyreek's interviews enough, you know how he said it.
This is such a different team than you find with most football teams. Like there's still a lot of alpha in the room. Like we got to see, was it the linebackers coach or whatever, Anthony? What is
Yeah,
his name?
I want to say it's Campanile.
Campanile. Yeah, we got to see that, but teams teams have a lot of success when they emulate the culture they're in, and with South Florida, look, we're not that chip on your shoulder city. We're not like get your lunch pail, go to work. It's a very luxurious area of the country. Like it's the beaches, it's relaxing, it's people come down here to retire. So it is a little bit disingenuous when you have, that kind of vibe in the locker room of we have to be tough, we have to be serious, we have to go to work and do our best every single day, like that sort of mantra. Like Mike McDaniel really leans into and buys into what South Florida really is. Like, look, we're not gonna probably be the hardest team. We're not gonna be the strongest. But we're gonna be us. We're gonna be our identity, and our identity is speed. Our identity is flash. And then on the defensive side, you have that voice in the room. You have that alpha guy who's like, we're gonna punch you in your face. Like, you still need that. But what I most took away from it is just there's just such a relaxed atmosphere with the team, which is something you don't see hardly ever in professional sports.
Yeah, man, I love to see it. I really did. Like, and you saw even during Campanile's speech during, and like he was like, uh, something about like if that was someone walking down the street and had your mama, had your daddy, had your sister, had your brother, and you just see like Waddle in the background just chewing on his chips, hilarious, like just calm as hell. And then on the other side you have Tyreek and Jalen Ramsey just cracking up and busting out laughing the entire time. And then the other people are like, yeah, like run through a brick wall right now.
I mean, the
Just
Tyreek and the
seeing
Jalen
everybody.
Ramsey, I kind of have a feeling that was ripped from a different part. Like, I have a hard time believing that they were sitting there and busting out laughing when this dude's talking about like people's family getting kidnapped and being that tough. Like, I think it was one of those where that was from a different part and they just ripped it and put it in there and it wasn't really going on at that time. I have a hard time believing that they would be acting like that when he's like that dead serious speech mode.
I mean, it is Tyreek though. So
It
Tyreek probably said
is,
something.
it is, but he also knows a time and place. And
Yeah,
when
that's
one of your
true.
defensive coaches is giving that much of an impassioned speech, that's not really, the time and place. But I really loved seeing like obviously the off the field stuff. You get to see them more of the personal life. So we got to see like the offensive lineman going out to dinner, like Teron Armstead was somebody got to hear speak a lot. Somebody who you don't. Yeah, I've barely heard his voice since he's been on the Miami Dolphins. So like it was really cool to see him have a little bit of shine, a little bit of light on him. Obviously, we were going to have Tyreek Hill, and he was talking about he's now more easier to adjust to coming home and leaving football on the field, and coming home and trying to successfully set himself up. Jeez, well, that's pretty difficult to say out loud. For the future in his post football career. You know, you got to see a little bit of Tua, not as much away from the field. You mostly got to see that while he was, in the facility, on the field. But I really love to see like the preparation that goes into each game, and like the amount of preparation they went in and talked about with Max Crosby, and they had that guy on practice squad like swatting at Tua like every single play. Like I love seeing those little things.
Yeah, I like seeing that as well. Thoughts on that? I've been seeing a little on different platforms, people commenting like they probably shouldn't have told Tua that that's what that guy was going to be doing, so it could be more effective or whatever. But I think maybe
It doesn't matter.
I think maybe Tua found out about it, but the guy was like, he's a practice squad player, hitting the star quarterback. He probably was going a little easy at first, and Tua's like, "Nah, come on, like bring it to me,"
No,
and like encouraging him.
I would have 100% let Tua know, like, because you're trying to game plan against one of the best edge rushers in the league. So this is something they've talked about, like in those meetings before you go to the practice field. This is something they've talked about. They know how good of a player Max Crosby is. Also, you don't really need to talk about it to know. Like he's like top 5 in sacks this year. I think he's just under double digits in sacks. It's well known. It's not something new, but that sort of tactic, which it's not dirty. It's not an illegal move. It's just, hey, I'm here. Hey. It's just poking at him, just consistently letting him know. No, I think there's zero reason to not tell Tua about that, because it's something you're trying to actively plan against. Like, it doesn't really make sense to tell him afterwards.
You don't want him to get frustrated in practice. You want him to get used to being hit and get used to being like, okay, I know that that's coming, so I know how to react from there on forward. And we saw him get hit multiple times. There was one time he actually used his jiu-jitsu when he got pulled down backwards. You saw that? I know you saw that.
I didn't see it, actually, no.
When Max Crosby pretty much shoved him down backwards, grabbing his shoulder pads, and he kind of just like landed on his ass.
Oh, are you talking about the throw to Cedric Wilson on the left side?
When
he missed
it was
him?
on the left side. It was on the left side. Yeah, he was like, damn, on the ground. But like that was when Max Crosby brought him down, and using his jiu-jitsu, because he could have gone down a couple different ways.
Whenever you start talking about his jiu-jitsu, you sound like you're one of his family members. Like, oh my gosh, my son, look what he just did.
I'm so proud of him.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways,
for not dying, that's what you're proud of him.
Yeah, basically speaking. But we saw him, in the game, kind of like look for it, and like he knew it was coming, and he joked with Max Crosby because like, hey, I know you're trying to come kill me.
Yeah,
Like,
I like that he stays genuine to who he is. Like he's not as much of a rah guy. He's not like he's not like Jalen Hurts, who's just like cool as hell. Like Jalen Hurts is like just one of the coolest guys in the NFL because he'll score a touchdown. I think I sent the post to Liz. Like Jalen Hurts will score a touchdown, and it's like, my tea's gone cold, I'm wondering why. Like he just looks so depressed whenever he scores a touchdown. Like occasionally he'll dance, but he's just sitting on the sideline, just like that's not who Tua is. Like, and he doesn't pretend to be.
It's funny too, because like you'll see Tua do that sometimes, and you'll see Tua dance sometimes as well. On that, for example, on that throw to Tyreek, the touchdown, he literally just went like this, and then walked to the sideline. He didn't even like go celebrate, don't dance. I mean, given I think at that point, was that to take the lead?
It was
7-3. Yeah. So I mean,
it was 10-7. Wait, the Tyreek one. Never mind. I think it was Savon Ahmed. That was to take the lead.
So that was to take the lead because we were 3-0, 7-3. Yeah.
Both touchdowns we scored were to take the lead.
Yeah. So, ironically enough, we couldn't score besides those, but
yeah.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I Tua's kind of the same way. Like just kind of like put the hands up, but like you didn't really get a reaction like a yeah or nothing like that. It just walked back to the sideline, like silent.
Yeah,
I do like that.
I've really grown to, it's been a weird journey with me and Tua. Like, I was like the number one guy that was like, please go get him. Whenever the 2020 draft happened, like I wanted him so badly, And then that first season happened. I'm like, ugh. And the second season happened. I'm like, all right, time to go. And then that didn't happen. The third season happened, and I feel great for a while, and then just hits his head again. And I was ready to move off of him again. So now I'm at this point where I've been okay with the team moving on from him twice, and that obviously didn't happen. I was thrilled when we drafted him. Literally was jumping and screaming when we drafted him. But
to put this in perspective for you guys, sorry to interrupt you. Put this in perspective. He wanted to give Dan Marino's number to Tua.
I did. And then last offseason, I wanted us to get rid of him for Derek Carr. Yeah. So, like, dude, like, it's been such a weird journey.
The highest and the lowest of lows. It has been. Now, we'll give credit where credit is due. Like, you changed your mind, given you changed it a lot.
That's not true. You're way over. You never change your mind. You never change your mind.
In my personal opinion, you change your mind quite often.
No. However, just because you are like the single most stubborn person I know doesn't mean I change my mind a lot. I am open to new information. I'm open to new perspectives. You say something and it just locks into your brain, and you literally have to be beaten until the point, like either emotionally or sometimes literally physically beaten until you get rid of that idea. There's a difference between stubbornness and changing your mind or not changing your mind.
I was giving you credit.
I wasn't taking the credit. That was backhanded credit. For someone who changes his mind a lot, shut up. You never change your mind because you just hunker down on these thoughts and beliefs, and then you find the most minute out of pocket detail to try to back it up.
That's what you got to do. What you got to do.
No, you just refuse to be wrong.
And you want to tell these people, like, I actually at the draft I didn't want to because I didn't want the injuries with him. And I've come to absolutely love Tua and defend him a lot the more I've watched him. The guy I actually wanted from that draft, it wasn't Herbert. It was Burrow, but I knew we weren't getting him. It was actually Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Is who I wanted from that draft. And, I'm not sure if Jalen would have succeeded in Miami's system with a bad offensive line and Chan Gailey coaching.
I forgot about that guy.
But... Yeah, the one that opened up the playbook for Ryan Fitzpatrick but closed it for Tua. Yeah, that guy. Hate that guy. But yeah, I don't know if he would have had success down here, but I am glad to see him having success where he is. I don't know where I was going with that, but go ahead.
Hard Knocks was fun. It was a good first episode. Excited to see what it looks like after the Jets game. And the Jets is obviously who we got coming up this week. So I think the most interesting thing to talk about when it comes to the Jets this week is the fact that they benched Zach Wilson for Tim Boyle. They benched Zach Wilson for, how to put this kindly, the worst quarterback in NFL history. I think is the right way to refer to Tim Boyle.
Go ahead. I'm pulling up that post I sent you. Keep going.
Yeah. I was actually pulling up his stats too. He went to UConn for 1 year. He had 1 touchdown and 11 interceptions. Donovan's going to be bringing up the rest of his college stats. He's never had a positive touchdown to interception ratio in any level. I think maybe that 1 year where he played at was Eastern Kentucky or something. He had like 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. All right, go ahead.
All right, so at UConn, 1 touchdown, 13 interceptions, 48.4 completion percentage in 19 games over 3 years. 11 touchdowns and 13 interceptions.
19 games, 1 touchdown. Dear God.
Yeah, 19 games and 1 touchdown. That after playing 3 seasons at the Huskies, he transferred to Eastern Kentucky, where he started there for 1 season. Had a little bit better of a season, 11 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 2,100 yards. And then he went undrafted, somehow got signed with the Packers.
Oh my gosh.
And so far, he has 3 starts in the NFL, 3 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 607 yards passing in 3 games.
This guy has literally never had a positive touchdown to interception ratio since high school. I mean, I don't have his high school stats. Maybe he sucked in high school. Maybe he sucked in high school
too. It was
too.
So bad.
How does this guy get a job? I mean, other than the fact that he's a white quarterback and that's just the go-to. Like, yeah, he probably fit on a roster somewhere. He's not, like, he sucks. It's not like he can also run the ball. he has -4 rushing yards on his career. On his career, not in one game. In his career, he has -4 rushing yards. In his career, like you just mentioned, 3 to 9 touchdown to interception ratio, a passer rating of 50.9. Like, what are we doing here? He has a total of 607 career passing yards. How does he have I get Zach Wilson's not the guy. I think Zach Wilson sucks. I mean, you saw the arguments I was making in the chat. Like, I think that Jets fans have found ways to argue for Zach Wilson and why it's not all his fault. Just kind of similar like you do with Dolphins players. They like, oh, it's Robert Saleh, oh, it's Nathaniel Hackett, oh, it's the offensive line, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Every single excuse just to say, oh, it's not Zach's fault. Like Joe and I were talking the other day. Joe's a Jets fan, and I wish we could have had him on the podcast. Maybe we can later, actually, for the Jets game later this year, other Jets game this year. And
Yeah.
we were talking about Zach Wilson, and we were talking about that Chiefs game, and he says he had a really good game against the Chiefs. I'm like, he had 210 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns. I'm like, he had like a okay game, and he was shocked. He's like, if Tua did that, you'd be talking about it. I'm like, Tua just threw 340 yards and 2 touchdowns, and nobody's talking about Tua. Like, nobody's talking about what he just did against the Raiders. Like, he had a quiet game in terms of how people are covering him. Dude, he just had 330 yards. He's now 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. And we're just like, it was another game by Tua. Zach Wilson, he's awful. He's not good. But Tim Boyle, even over Trevor Siemian. Trevor Siemian has won games before. Like, Tim Boyle, even over Trevor Siemian?
I said this when I was talking about, like, when I was like, oh, the breaking news, Tim Boyle starting. I talked about, I think he's going to have a really short leash because they're actually putting Zach Wilson not to backup, but to third string behind Trevor Siemian. And I think for that reason, Tim Boyle is going to have a really short leash. And if he does not do anything against the Dolphins, which I don't think he will, I think they're going to throw in Trevor Siemian and hope and pray. I think the reason that Tim Boyle is going to be getting the start over Siemian is because he has been there longer. I think they didn't bring in Siemian until week 3 or 4, because I remember it being a couple weeks after Rodgers tore his Achilles, and everybody's like, why are they waiting so long just to sign Trevor Siemian? They should have signed Carson Wentz, honestly. But
they should have. Well, there's a whole host of things they should have done. As soon as that Aaron Rodgers tore his ACL, or tore his Achilles rather, they should have went out and made a quarterback move in one way or another. But benching Zach Wilson, like, this is, you've already lost the season. You're 4-6. Your schedule doesn't get any easier. You play us twice in the next 4 weeks. Then you play the Falcons. That's a winnable game. But then you play the Texans, Commanders. That's a winnable game. But then you have the Patriots, then you have the Browns, and then you're at the Patriots. Like, the season's done. Especially if you lose to us. ESPN playoff calculator has them at 0.6% chance at making the playoffs if they beat us. Like, there's still talk of Aaron Rodgers coming back, but let's say that's that Commanders game when they said he was going to come back. So let's say loss to the Dolphins. I'll give them a win to the Falcons. Don't think it's going to happen, but just for argument's sake, makes you 5-8, 5-9 against the Texans, 5-10 against the Dolphins. Wait, I messed up the math somewhere along the way. 4-7, 4-8, or 4-7. 5-8, 5-9, 5-10 against the Dolphins, and then you have the Commanders, Browns, and Patriots. That way, I messed up that math. How did I mess up the math that badly? Because
I think you skipped 5 and 9.
Hold up, we're gonna get this right. 4-7.
4-7.
5. Oh, I skipped 4. I skipped 5-7.
5-7. Okay.
5-7, 5-8. 5-9, and then you play the Commanders. You're going to be 5-9, and you're going to have Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have 39 years old Aaron Rodgers with a torn Achilles come back for the Commanders, the Browns, the Patriots. Why would you do that? You're already guaranteed a losing record at that point, and a losing record is not going to get to the playoffs in the AFC.
And because of the trade being a conditional first-round pick, they have their first-round pick because Rodgers missed this season. I think he needed to play more than 50% of the snaps.
Yeah, which is that's not happening at this point. But that's not something you're
happening.
About. Yeah,
it's not happening. But like at that point, you're five. I think the entire staff is pretty much safe because of Rodgers. Like Rodgers can on a whim be like, okay, the coaching staff that I
Uh,
came here for is gone. I'm retiring.
I wouldn't
And
say completely safe. I think there's still now personally.
I
I
don't think
wouldn't.
Salah is gone.
I wouldn't fire Salah on the basis of he has his side of the ball figured out. The defense is playing good. If you want to let go of Nathaniel Hackett, I'm not going to be the one to tell you to not do it. But he was brought in for Aaron Rodgers. I still don't think that. I didn't think he was a good coach when they signed him. I've seen nothing to change my mind on that. Give Breece Hall the ball every other play, and every other play after that, give the ball to Garrett Wilson. They can't figure out that simple math. Like, okay, is Garrett Wilson open? Okay, no, dump off to Breece Hall. That's what the Jets offense should be doing every single time they step out onto the field, and they're not. So
Yeah.
he's clearly not a good
Yeah,
coach. He's clearly not made himself
completely
any
agree.
favors. But he has had to deal with Zach Wilson. In that great game that Zach Wilson had, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. On the season, Zach Wilson has 1,900 yards. 1,900 yards, 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's been sacked 38 times. Like you're just dealing with a bad quarterback here. And Tim, even though he's a terrible quarterback, this is not the time in the season to be benching him for Tim Boyle. I don't understand the decision.
Yeah, I know that they're like, oh, well, he was never supposed to be starting this season at all. He was supposed to be learning from Rodgers and blah, 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 blah. Like he was supposed to be developing. And they're thinking that, the more that he goes in, the more it destroys his confidence. Sorry, being benched for Tim fucking Boyle destroys his confidence way more.
He's not going to be on the team next year anyways.
Losing. So my point is, like, I understand you want to kind of like protect his mental health and everything. But you already know, like, you're not going to risk Rodgers coming back with 9 losses. You have to have a minimum of 8 losses going into that Commanders game for even think about starting Rodgers. Because maybe you get, maximum of 8 losses. Because if you go into that, maybe you get in at 9-8. I personally don't think so. I think it's going to take an 11-win team to get into the wild card spot. Personally thinking. That's why I don't think the Bills are making it. So I don't think that the Jets have a shot at, making it at all. So I think they rest. I think they rest, and they could possibly get another top 10 pick. And who knows where that pick ends up in that top 10? Because the Giants are starting to win games. The Cardinals have Kyler back. Like, who knows where in that top 10 that pick could possibly be? It could possibly net them Marvin Harrison.
I don't know if they lose every single game for the rest of their season. I think that's what it would take, because I think the Panthers are going to win. The Panthers are going to win at max 3 games. You have the Patriots that are 2. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Patriots winning a lot of games for the rest of the season. Like, they have their own quarterback issues. Like, God knows who's going to be a quarterback on Sunday. It could be Malik Cunningham for all we know.
I think it hasn't been announced, but I think it was either Tom Pelissero or Ian Rappaport, was that they were leaning towards Mac Jones. I honestly think that they should get Will Greer a shot. Greer. I think he should get a shot, but that's just my 2 cents. What do I know? I'm a YouTuber. Yeah. So I mean, I'm smart enough to know that Mac Jones ain't it.
He's better than Zach Wilson for what it's worth. Mac Jones is better than Zach Wilson.
He is. So,
which, I mean, you and I might be. Well, me, not you, actually.
No, definitely put me in there.
No, we are not. I'll get the entire group chat to be in here right now and just completely rectify what you just said. I don't even know if I use that word correct.
Zach Wilson, bro.
Zach Milson.
Zach Milson. Yeah. But I personally think that the best thing that they should do for themselves is lose out, get that top 10 pick, help out Aaron Rodgers next year with another, get a first round wide receiver for the first time in his career while he's actually on the team.
Garrett Wilson's a first round receiver. He just never got to throw it to him.
Well, Garrett Wilson's a first round receiver, but I'm saying, like, in his entire career, there hasn't been a skill position player drafted in the first round while he's on the team.
No, it's not just that. Like, I don't think he has a single touchdown pass thrown to a first round pick in his career.
He does. It is
Mercedes Lewis or something.
Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
and that was in Mercedes Lewis like 12th year or some shit.
He's still in the league, isn't he? He's on the
Yeah, I
Bears.
think he's on Bears. Yeah,
Dude just wants to play football. I respect that. Like, there's no reason for
Hey, bro.
Mercedes Lewis to still be in the league. He just wants the ball. I can really respect that. I respect a
And
man
bro,
that knows what he wants.
and he's out there 99% of the time just blocking, which is even funnier.
Yeah, so he's like smacking
not even
dudes every
getting
other
the ball.
play.
He just wants to go and hit people for fun. That actually kind of sounds fun.
That is pretty fun. All right, let's get into the injuries.
Yeah.
This might be the first day that every single Miami Dolphins active player has practiced since week 1. We did not have a single player, again, of active players, not on IR, not on anything like that. Every single guy practiced. All but one are limited. The only guy who is a full participant that's on the injury report is Braxton Berrios. Every single man in teal that I'm about to mention was limited today, including the person that's most noteworthy to talk about in terms of injuries, which we'll talk about probably a little bit more after this. Is Devon Achane, and we told him to start him in fantasy. He started him in 3 leagues. I started him in 2 leagues. Obviously, we got burned by that. It is what it is. Teron Armstead with the knee as well, and Chase Claypool also with a knee. They were all limited. Lester Cotton, Tyreek Hill with his hand injury, Robert Hunt, Alec Ingold, the man who just continuously is on the injury report, and the man who continuously plays. He has a foot and ankle problem. Austin Jackson, Robert Jones, Raheem Mostert, and Durham Smythe, who missed the game on Sunday, was on the injury list today. Probably going to play on Friday, but since it's a limited week, being on a Friday game, more up in the air. But like I just talked about, Devon Achane is the one that I think Dolphins fans are most curious about. We expect Tyreek Hill to play. We expect Teron Armstead to play. We could see Robert Hunt return, maybe, but we also saw Connor Williams return a week, and then he didn't play. So like he was dressed and ready to go if necessary. I can see that happen with Robert Hunt.
That's what a lot of people are talking about right now. I think McDaniel mentioned and specifically said dress for the game. He didn't say start.
Yeah.
So
if he's needed to be called upon, he'll be serviceable.
There's a couple updates similar to that. Even going with Achane, he said that it's not a re-injury risk at this moment. It's more of kind of like, can he go 4 quarters type of thing. So if he does play, I expect him to be on a heavy snap count. Going to the offensive lineman, he says that last week, Robert Hunt, Robert Jones, and even Durham Smythe, they missed the game. They wanted to play in that game, but their eyes were on this game Friday to come back to. They kind of already knew okay, they needed a little bit more rest, but they're eyeing this next game to come back to.
Yeah, and with Savon Ahmed going on IR, we definitely expect Jeff Wilson to be back in some aspects. They did sign Robbie Anderson to the active roster, so that'll be a decision they'll have to make come game day. But with Achane limited, with Raheem Mostert also on this injury list, I do expect Jeff Wilson to be active. He was a healthy scratch on Sunday. I expect Achane to play, but his role... we again talked last week. He started him in 3 leagues. I started him in 2 fantasy leagues, that being Devon Achane. And this week, if you're desperate for a running back, he still has the potential of going out there and scoring 25 points. It could happen, and it would just make sense that the week you start him, when he comes back, he gets 1.5 points, and then he re-injures the knee, or it tweaks the knee a little bit, it was landed on, and then you're like, all right, maybe you shouldn't play him. Of course, he'll probably go out for 25 points. If you're desperate for a running back, you've had some injuries, you got Aaron Jones on your team, and you're debating about starting him, might be still worth the risk, but definitely is probably on a snap count. Tyreek, we got to see on Hard Knocks when he hurt his hand in the game. Now we all kind of lean towards, when he went to the locker room, he's probably going to get IV, just because it feels like every single home game he has to leave the field to get IV. But he was holding his hand, and then it did come out, and we got to see him hurt his hand. He claims that it's not going to be a big deal, and he literally said it in the game, and then in the post-game press conference how he's not going to be able to play Fortnite this week. So I'm so sorry, Tyreek Hill. We're probably going to end up playing Fortnite later tonight. So I understand. But nothing really on this list really concerns me. This is the healthiest we've been really ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I think the only thing I may be concerned with is Tyreek's hand, because he mentioned kind of like on Hard Knocks as well that he's going to be body catching a little bit more if he's thinking about the hand. Obviously, I think they're gonna shoot him up with some kind of narcotic before the game to make sure he ain't hurting.
Let's give him some
But
weed.
do they test for it anymore in the league?
No, there's no chance they do.
I don't
I
know. Josh
mean,
Gordon.
the Raiders were smoking blunts in the locker room. Like some of those were cigars, but
Max Crosby.
Max Crosby was smoking a blunt while being interviewed. I'm like, I mean, I could look this up just so we're not just talking out of our ass.
That's
Does
why I asked. I wasn't 100% sure. I don't think it is, but
Players are required to undergo just a single marijuana test at the start of training camp, but oh, okay. Players no longer test for THC in April and August. Okay, yeah, that was as of last year. So yeah, no, they get wait. Players will only be tested for THC starting training camp in the first preseason game. I don't know. Okay, I'm seeing two different reports here. And the NBA obviously doesn't do it anymore. I don't know. They do it anyways. We all know they do it. Let them do it. It's better than shooting up with pain pills. It's better than all the extra crap they give them. Just also, even just not that, just like CBD oil, like that cream, dude. I don't understand how it works, but it does. Like aches and pains, it works.
it goes into your pores and
Don't pretend like you understand how that
I
works. Don't
I mean
pretend.
it's kind of like it works in the same way that if you're Cuban vapor rub
Yeah.
works.
Okay. How
So
does vapor rub work?
once again your pores absorb it.
And what happens then?
It's
Yeah,
kind of
that's all I
like
thought.
it's
Okay, just stop.
it's
Just
well,
stop.
okay. How do pills work? It goes in
I
your
have no
stomach and then
idea.
your stomach
I
absorbs
have
it.
no idea.
It's
Yeah, but I'm
just a
talking about the
different
actual what's going on there.
it's just a different way of absorbing it into your bloodstream and getting it to your brain or
What does
subconscious.
THC even stand for, or CBD even stand for?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Exactly. So therefore, you don't know what's interacting with what. That's what I mean by I don't understand how it happens.
It doesn't matter what it
How are we?
is.
Bro,
I
you're an
don't
hour and a
know.
half away from me. There's a TV in front of me. There's a camera. There's a light. How does a light bulb work? I don't know. Like, how did they make this Gatorade bottle? I don't know. I just don't. I don't know, bro. I very much. If like an apocalypse happens, bro, how many people would actually be able to rebuild the infrastructure of this country, like electrical grids, like what is Wi-Fi? What is it?
Wi-Fi, I would not be able to solve. I could definitely wire
How do
up
you make a
something
tire? How do you make a
though.
carburetor? Like,
Ooh, I know that one.
anyways, how bad are the Jets? Very, very,
Oh my
very,
God.
very, 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 very bad. Um,
I want to ask you one question before we get really into this.
uh-huh.
How did they beat the Eagles?
There is a recipe to beat the Eagles. Now they've been the only ones to do it.
Without DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner, I might add.
There is a recipe to beat the Eagles. Nobody else has been able to perfect it. Teams got close. Like Patriots got close. The Chiefs got close last week. You load the box. You don't let. And Jalen Hurts is already a little beat up, so maybe he was even more beat up that day. You load the box like a 7-man front, 4 on the line, 3 linebackers. Do not let Jalen Hurts move around, and make him make throws. He's a capable thrower. Not in any way he's trying to indicate that he's not, but you have to flood that box. Don't let the ground game going, and make him make plays with his arm. And they did that successfully. Now the Chiefs, they had that bomb over the top to Devontae Smith. They set him up on the goal to go, scored a touchdown, won the game. Patriots, the offense blew them out in the first half, and then the Patriots figured out what the Jets did and loaded the box. Jalen Hurts wasn't able to get a lot going in that second half. So their defense, which I'll get to second, is very good. Their offense is very not good. So obviously, you're comparing this to the Dolphins. Dolphins are first in points scored. They are 30th in points scored. They
Oh, last.
Not last. I think that's the Panthers. Actually, no, scratch that. It's the Patriots.
Oh.
Patriots are dead last. They are 30th in points. They are 31st in yards. 30th in pass yards. Dead last in passing touchdowns. Oh, is the ground game any better? No. 30th in rushing touchdowns. They are dead last in total touchdowns. So the only thing that has elevated them is their kicking game, which Greg Zuerlein is a well-respected kicker. They are last in red zone attempts. They are last in red zone touchdowns. Last in red zone attempts scored, getting a touchdown once you do reach the red zone. They're bad in the red zone. Actually, sorry. They're 30th in red zone attempts. Apologies. First downs, dead last. Third down percentage, dead last. They're good on fourth down. They're third in fourth down percentage. So good for you guys.
How many times do they do it though?
Let me see. Well, I don't know if it's gonna give me the amount of times, but I can get the percentile here. They probably have only done it like either 3, 6, or 9 times. They're 66% on fourth down.
They've only done it 3 times, and there's no shot.
They've done it 3 or 6 times. I doubt it's much more. And they've allowed 40th sacks. They've allowed 40 sacks, which is third most in the NFL. Everywhere you look, this is really bad. They've scored 11 total touchdowns this year. We scored 7 in one game. We scored 10. Sorry. We scored 10 in one game. Again, apologies. Math's wrong there. We needed one more touchdown, and we would have their touchdowns for the season.
We could have scored that touchdown too. We really could.
We very much could have. Like this is
with backups, by the way.
Dude, 6 red zone touchdowns. They've only got to the red zone 23 times. In comparison, we've gotten there 34 times, and we're like, what's our red zone ranking? Because we score a lot of long touchdowns. Red zone attempts. We're 12th. We're 12th in red zone attempts, but we're first in red zone touchdowns in terms of percentage. We're third in total red zone touchdowns, but once we get there, we are the most efficient team in the red zone. So we don't get there a lot, but when we do, we score a lot.
That's funny enough because against the Chargers, we turned the ball over twice in the red zone.
Oh, it was only you've said this before. It was only one time in the red zone. The second time
it was. That's right. It was like 28-yard line or something. Yeah,
it was like 38 or something like that.
Yeah, we went over that before. Not bad.
There's no way. There's no way this is correct. We've only allowed 3 sacks all year.
No. Every loss that we've had, we allowed 3 or more sacks.
I'm back on ranking. I'm stupid. I'm like, there's no way. Because you can switch back and forth between ranking and stat. Okay, 16. 16. That makes a lot more sense. We're third ranking-wise. So the offense is, it's not literally last. Patriots, I guess you could say, is literally last since they've scored the least amount of points, and then the Giants. I'm surprised the Panthers aren't dead last. Where are the Panthers in this? Panthers are 29th, so right above the Jets. But defense, the story gets a little bit better. They only allow 20.4 points per game, which is good for second in the league, as opposed to the Dolphins, which are 15th in that nature. You looking across their defense, really good against the pass. The 4th least passing yards. They allow the 10th fewest yards in general. They're much better against the pass than they are against the rush. They allow the 7th most rushing yards. They are really good in terms of scoring defense in general. 3rd in least amount of touchdowns allowed. They don't allow teams to get to red zone a lot. 6th when it comes to red zone attempts against them. They are good on first down. They are terrible on fourth down, which we're not that great, but they are the last place team in fourth down percentage in the league. When teams go for fourth down against the Jets, they get the first down 80% of the time. That is outrageous. That is an insane stat.
That's crazy.
We're at 39%, just for clarification.
We go for it a lot on fourth down also. Like
we
didn't do it that much. I think we only did it one time against the Raiders.
We do, but we suck at it. We're 30th and we're 30th fourth down percentage.
What's our percentage? Like 22?
35.
Yeah.
I think last in the league is Arizona at 27.
We're
pretty bad on fourth down, but we do go for it a lot.
Ironically enough, I feel better in like a 3rd and 5 or a 4th and 5 than I do in like a 3rd and 1, 4th and
Yeah,
1.
because we don't really punch teams in the mouth, and having that space opens up the field a little bit. Like that
Yeah.
4th and 7 last year really set the tone against the Patriots first game of the season. We would go for it, like a minute 40 left to go in the first half. Patriots have plenty of time if you do not pick that up to go down and get at least a field goal, and that really set the
Dude,
tone for what this offense wants to do.
I think I was watching that with you, and we're like,
We were at the game
you're,
together, or not together, but we were at the game.
no, you're like, I remember it was one of the 4th downs. I'm like, you're like, no way he actually like is going for this, and I'm like, I don't know, bro. He's done it before, and then they snap the ball and they get it, and I'm like,
So
see?
hey, if it worked, it's one of those like the tush push. Like
And
everyone loves to criticize when it doesn't work, but when it does work, they don't really talk about it that much. Fourth
Yeah.
down, same exact thing. If you go for it on 4th down and you don't get it, the media loves to crucify you. Your own fans are like, that's a terrible decision. Like that Tyreek, the pass to Tyreek on Sunday. Like it was not the best decision. I was okay with going for it, but you throw it behind the line of scrimmage to a guy you know is already a little bit beat up, has an injured hand as a wide receiver. It's kind of a big deal, and you throw it to him behind the line of scrimmage. It's a 2-on-2. It's not like they even had a advantage on that side of the field. You had to have Craycraft hit his block. He didn't, and then you have to beat your man. Tyreek didn't. So it was a failure on both sides.
Yeah.
But going for it on your own too against a team who you don't trust their offense to be able to score a 98-yard touchdown, I'm okay with making that decision. It just in that spot was probably the wrong play call.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's the second time that exact play happened. That was the fumble 6 against the Chiefs as well. Was I think a very similar screen or the same exact play,
Something like that.
and just missed the block because I think part of it is that Tua is a little bit late getting the ball there. He wants to make sure that it's like a catchable ball rather than just beaming it at him and be like, here, get it, and then go. So the ball was like a tad late in my opinion, which allowed him to get the tackle.
I just don't like in general plays behind the line of scrimmage. Like when we did the fake tush push and the shovel pass behind the line of scrimmage to Raheem Mostert, and it was a terrible toss by Tua, and it ended up going out of bounds. I think like a 10-yard loss. Like it works. Like end around works, pitch works every now and then. It occasionally works. I feel like it works less often than it actually works. That it's just so dangerous making that play behind the line of scrimmage. Just punch it up the middle or throw it, pick up some yards.
You do like that's the problem with like the short yardage and at that point in time, Achan was already beat up, Ahmed was already beat up, and then actually no, Ahmed was still in the game at that point.
Yes.
And then Wilson was inactive, and obviously Chris Brooks, our bruiser, is on IR. So two of the heavier, ball carriers. I mean, maybe Alec Ingold.
I
in that
was just
situation.
thinking, we never really handed off to him.
He is a bulldozer, but I know we mostly use him to block, but why not in that situation line up in like an I formation?
Especially since we never do it. Like I think I would catch teams off guard.
Yeah, I like it. I like the thought of. I texted you during the game. I'm like, I like the physicality we had on defense, but on offense, I felt like we needed to be more physical, and I felt like we were playing off of we had 2 backup guards in, and I felt like we were playing like that.
Yeah, because that interior rushing attack never got going. Like Raheem, I think he was like 3.9 per carry. I think it was like 88 yards on 22 carries, which I think is like exactly 4. Let me pull it up. 86 yards. That makes more sense. 86 yards, 22 carries, 3.9 yards per carry. It was a solid game by him, but like nothing to really write home about. Like we picked up a lot of yards, like 420 yards total on the game. It was just the scoreboard never quite followed. But I think we should move into talking about the Jets game, talking about the scoreboard moving. I expect this game to the Jets game on Friday, obviously, going to be on Black Friday, the first ever Black Friday game. I expect us to put up a decent amount of points, not on the basis of their defense is bad, which we just went over it on the stream here. It's not a bad defense, but their offense was already piss poor, and the Bills took advantage of that last week. And now you're even though we don't believe in Zach Wilson, you're now getting worse at quarterback with Tim Boyle. Literally, the worst quarterback in NFL history is starting against the Dolphins on a standalone game. I expect it to be a blowout against the Raiders. I'm not going to quite call it a blowout, but I don't see us having a difficult time winning this ball game.
Personally, I think the only chance that they even have of scoring is if that we turn it over on our side of the field. Very similar to like the Raiders. Like against the Raiders, they scored 3 times on us. 2 times we turned it over on our side of the field and they kicked field goals. The other time was a long touchdown to Devontae Adams. I don't think that they get any kind of like lucky score like the Adams one. I don't think that happens with Tim Boyle. I don't think he's as good as Aiden O'Connell.
No, like that specific throw, Tim Boyle's not making that throw. That ball is one of Jalen Ramsey's third interceptions of the day. If that throw is made by Tim Boyle, so but they do have guys though that are able to make those big plays though. Like we saw against the Cowboys, Garrett, like their one touchdown was a catch and run by Garrett Wilson. We've seen it against the Broncos. I think it was against the Giants, maybe, where Breece Hall had long runs for a touchdown. But they've been on a dry spell recently. They only scored 1 touchdown last week. It was with Breece Hall. 1 touchdown. They scored a touchdown against the Chargers, but you're looking at 6 points against the Chargers with 1 touchdown. Was it even a touchdown or was it 2 field goals? Oh, no, it was 2 field goals. So you're talking about 1 touchdown scored in the last 3 games. They don't score a lot of points, but they do have guys still in play that you fear that have the ability to put up points on the board.
Look, I like Garrett Wilson, but they don't have anybody else, so I feel like we're going to double him. And Breece Hall, I got extreme respect for Breece Hall and his ability. He's probably, last year before he got hurt, was the best running back in the league, and I think he's up there with CMC, Bijan. I can't really put Bijan up there right now.
No, not yet.
Arthur Smith, but like with ability wise, CMC, Jonathan Taylor, like amongst those top
that's
dogs,
where he
Saquon,
was last year.
He was on top of that last year, and this year he's kind of getting back to that form. So he's not quite back there yet, but I'm still putting him up there. Like I have extreme respect for him, but when your offense is so one-dimensional, there's only so much a running back can do. There's only so much a running back can help your team. So that's why I'm like, with Tim Boyle at quarterback, while Tim Boyle is quarterbacking the Jets for the first 2.5 quarters before he gets pulled for Trevor Siemian, I don't see them scoring a single point. In fact, I told you before the stream, I'm like, as soon as I heard he was starting, I'm like, this is going to be 21-0 for the Dolphins, and it's going to be 14 points scored off of turnovers. And like, that's how much respect I have for their defense, and that's how much disrespect or lack of faith I have in their offense. That's just is what it is.
And it's a shame because like we've talked about how like as a football fan, I was disappointed to see Aaron Rodgers go down because there are legitimate weapons on this offense that could make a massive difference. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers only got to throw 1 pass as a Jet, again, as a football fan, taking the Dolphins hat off. Jeez, why? Such a challenge to say that, and put on my NFL fan. It sucked to see him go down because this team had potential, and we saw them like against the Chiefs, like when they beat the Eagles. Like this is a team that could have competed for a playoff spot, could have potentially competed for the division if they had Aaron Rodgers there. Like I feel bad seeing Breece Hall, only average 54 yards per game. He only has 2 touchdowns on the ground this year. He's averaging 4.7 yards per carry. So when he's getting his opportunities, he's a very good runner, but he's not getting a lot of opportunities because this offense stalls out time and time again. Like we don't have that stat in front of me, but if you had to say like which team probably has the most 3 and outs in the NFL this year, it's probably the Jets. I'd say that even over the Patriots. Patriots pick up 1 or 2 first downs, then it stalls. Panthers, Giants, I think I'd probably take the Jets in that category of those 3 and outs. You have Breece Hall, you have Garrett Wilson, this is the first time we'll be able to see Dalvin Cook, who, we all remember in the preseason, all of Dolphins Nation, myself included, we all wanted Dalvin Cook, and he is, pun intended, cooked. He is buns. He's running behind a bad offensive line, but dear God, he looks awful.
But
160 yards in 10 games. 3.3 yards per carry. Dude, he sucks.
That just shows you how good Breece Hall is, though. And I don't want to like.
I don't know if that's the angle I'd go with it. I think just the angle of how quick of a regression you see from running backs once they fall off a cliff.
Yeah, but I don't ever really think like he ran behind a bad offensive line. He ran behind some mediocre lines, but never really bad. Minnesota never really had a bad offensive line. The Jets, I don't remember the last time they had a good offensive line.
They had on paper a good one coming into the season. In week 1, it was obviously a lot better than it is now, and he still sucked back then.
Yeah, but even going into the season, they were without Mekhi Becton, and they had to start Dwayne Brown, and then that's how Rodgers got hurt. Like, it's just, given we haven't been healthy at offensive line either, but I think the Jets, they haven't started consecutive games with the same offensive line mixture. That they've had a different mixture of starting, like maybe moving guys around, maybe it's the same starting 5, but they haven't had the same starting offensive line 2 games in a row all season long. And that's just miserable.
There's so many reasons that we could point to as to why the Jets shouldn't win this game, but we see all the time, including last year with the matchup that we had against them. Now, both times that we played the Jets, it was Skylar Thompson at the quarterback position. So we didn't get to see the Dolphins at their best. But every week, you see divisional opponents and how tough it is to win in your own division, and especially on the road in your own division. Whether it's, whether you're playing the best team in the division, whether you're playing the worst team in the division. It's the battle of attrition. It's the battle of we know how you want to play, you know how we want to play, and what's going to happen, what's going to unfold. So it's a little different than the Raiders or the Panthers or teams that we played that we've expected to beat in weeks past. This Jets team knows us. They know what they know what we want to do. So, if there is a world that the Jets beat the Miami Dolphins, what happens?
Oof. In a world that the Jets beat the Miami Dolphins, Trevor Siemian comes in the second quarter after Tim Boyle gets hurt from Jalen Phillips or Christian Wilkins.
Jeez. Let's say without injuries.
They're not winning with Tim Boyle. That's just plain and simple. It would have to be Trevor Siemian.
Well,
coming in.
There is a world that they could win with him, but not because of him. So in my mind, the way hear me out. The way they win is their defense puts a cap on the top of this offense. Tyreek Hill struggles. Tyreek Hill has like let's call it less than 50 yards. Him and Jalen Waddle have less than 100 yards combined. They make the Dolphins run the ball, and with Achane beat up, they clearly don't trust Jeff Wilson, and Raheem Mostert, his efficiency numbers has gone down as the season's gone on. Making the Dolphins run the ball is the way you beat this team. We certainly are capable of running the ball. That's just not what we want to do. We want to pass to open up the run game instead of run the ball to open up the passing game. So putting that lid on the top, playing those 3 deep safeties, and not letting Tyreek Hill hit a big shot over the top, because they have the personnel on defense. They have one of the best young secondary groups in the NFL. They have Quinnen Williams, who is a top 3 probably defensive tackle in this league. So everything that goes into them potentially beating us is on the defensive side of the ball for the Jets. Don't get it twisted that I think Tim Boyle is going to come out and throw 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. That's not what's going to happen. But if they are to beat us, their defense would just completely take away all of our weapons.
That's the thing, though. Like, I have no faith in Tim Boyle being able to put up points. And like I said before, I think it's going to have to be similar to how the Raiders scored points. They're going to have to get turnovers on our side of the field, and then the only chance that they have of scoring a touchdown is Trevor Siemian. I'm sorry, Tim Boyle in the game, there's not a chance in hell that they're scoring a touchdown. Like, 0 shot that they're scoring a touchdown with Tim Boyle as starting quarterback. I will put money on it that with Tim Boyle, they do not score an offensive touchdown.
So you're saying on Sleeper you're going to take his under for touchdowns thrown?
Oh, 100%. It's probably going to be 0.5, and I'm still taking the under.
That's crazy.
Like, I'm
not saying you're wrong.
Like, I don't have any faith in Tim Boyle whatsoever. Trevor Siemian, another, like, I have a little bit of respect for him. Like, he can make some plays.
We've seen him win ball games before, at the very least.
And he's won ball games, and they've won because of him in some of those wins. So getting turnovers for the Jets, Trevor Siemian coming in and playing quarterback and being able to actually punch it in, like, because he can have accurate throws. They do have the personnel. We talked about this. Maybe not the offensive line because they're going to be without Mekhi Becton yet again with an ankle sprain. But having Garrett Wilson, throwing it to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's always open. If we're in zone, he's going to find the soft spot in the zone. I'm not going to deny that. But, you know, having a guy that can actually hit the open guy is another scenario.
Yeah.
As well as, you know, being able to step up, take the hit, and not throw an interception and throw an accurate ball. That's going to be someone that or something that someone has to do, and I just don't think it's going to be Tim Boyle.
Yeah, but they do keep teams close, even the games that they've lost. I mean, you look at, 3 of their losses this year have been Patriots 5 points, Chiefs 3 points, Raiders 4 points. Those minimal margins of victory when losing. It is a real thing. It is a real thing that this defense has the ability to stop the best offenses in the league. Like, they gave the Chiefs fits. They they beat the Eagles basically on the back of their defense. The Bills week 1 forced Josh Allen to turn the ball over, 3 or 4 times? It is a possibility. It is certainly a possibility that this defense can come out here and play some of their best football of the season and beat us. But again, all this was a caveat. All this was, I feel like we should mention this. I do fear for this Jets offense to have like an absurd number, like something like below 175 yards on the day. Like, this offense is going to be run. Stop me if I've said this before. By the worst quarterback in NFL history. I am not exaggerating when I say this.
I'm going to stop you there because you told me to stop you if you said that before. I agree with you.
Chris Paul meme. I fully expect our defense, which has been playing better every single week, especially since we've gotten fully healthy. I mean, you look at the last 3 games. Patriots 17 points allowed. Raiders, or before that, Chiefs 21 points allowed. Raiders 13 points allowed. Every single game the last 3 weeks we're allowing below 22 yards. Huh?
We allowed 14 against
the
Chiefs.
That's true, because one of them was a fumble return for a touchdown. So you're allowing below 20 points per game in your last 3 games, albeit 2 of those teams were against mediocre offenses at best, but one of those was against the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you take away the defensive score, it's a tied ball game, 14 apiece. And it makes sense. You're fully healthy. Again, as Bow's fully healthy, I sent him a stat earlier this week that Nick Needham's only played 11 snaps all year. So there's clearly still something going on there with him, or maybe it's even just coaching. But you have Jalen Ramsey.
It's just coaching.
You have Xavier Howard. You have Kader Kohu. You have Jalen Ramsey. Eli Apple. I couldn't tell you last time Eli Apple's got on the field. I don't even notice him.
That's what I've been saying.
Where'd he go?
Like, if you look at the snap counts, like I was gonna wait till you're done, but Nick Needham's only played 11 snaps because he's only in there on 4 personnel, like 4 corners or 3 safeties. Like, he's not even 3 safeties, because he's the 4th safety. He's behind Brandon Jones, but he's the 4th corner and he's the 4th safety. So they have Jalen X and Kader comes in for the nickel, and then I believe the dime package is the term for when Nick Needham comes in.
One way or another.
I believe that's the term. I'm not 100% sure, but it's when they have 4 corners out on the field. That's when Needham goes in, and he hasn't allowed a catch in his 11 snaps. So there's something. Damn, I didn't make you roll your eyes. I was waiting for it.
I mentally rolled my eyes.
Okay, cool. But yeah, like, that's such a good thing to have. And then I hope Eli Apple ends up getting, because when we have 2 spots to return from IR, right? So obviously I think Robbie is going to be one of them when either Isaiah Wynn or Eric Ezukama comes back. I think the other is going to be Eli Apple, because where else do you cut from this roster?
I hope that's the case, but that's a conversation we'll get to when we eventually come to it. But as for this game, we both expect we both expect the Dolphins to win. So just by how much is the question?
I'll go first. I mentioned the score earlier, but I'm gonna go a little bit away from that. I'm going to go ahead and say 24-6 on 2 field goals by the Jets, and I say field goals because that's when we're going to turn the ball over, and they're going to just sit there and kick a field goal. It just is what it is. Two has turned the ball over at least once every game, so yeah.
That scoreline sounds very, very correct. Like, that sounds right up the alley of what's going to happen. I'm going to go. Dang. I don't want. I'm not gonna say the same. You said what? You said 24-6.
24-6. I do think there's gonna be a defensive touchdown in there somewhere.
All right, I'll go 27-6. Just to
Okay.
just to say we're gonna score a little bit more points and not do the same as I think this should be a game that we easily handle. Part of this 5-game stretch that I feel like we need to win every single game, and then 2-0 after the bye. 2-0 on Hard Knocks. Can't ask for more than that.
2-0. 2-0 on Hard Knocks. Oh, that's gonna be great to see next Tuesday.
I'm very excited.
Oh,
I'm very excited for tomorrow and just all the festivities for Thanksgiving. You're going up to see some family, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing some family in Orlando. Ironically, my cousin that was in Boca FAU, he's coming up. My other cousin, who's also heavy into cars as well, is going to be there. So that's gonna be fun to see them. I haven't really seen them a lot. So, but I have a question for you. The 3 p.m. start time as the only
Really
game
weird.
on Friday.
Really weird.
Thank you.
Really weird.
Do you think it's because of college? Do you think that's the reason? Is there any college games on Friday?
Not that. Well, there's college basketball. Like, FAU plays tomorrow too. FAU plays tomorrow. I know. It's weird. I know. College football though, there's probably. Let me check. Well, there's been college wow, yeah. There's a bunch of games on Friday. But there's some that go. But there's also games that go on at 3. Like TCU Oklahoma is Friday. UTSA Tulane for FAU fans. That's massive AAC implications there. 2 undefeated teams in the conference between UTSA and Tulane. Oregon State, Penn State, Michigan State, which Michigan State kind of sucks now. So Texas Tech. So there's some pretty neat matchups in there. But I don't think that's why they did it, because there's games going on at the same time.
Maybe they didn't want to infringe on like Texas and Texas Tech and Oregon State. I'm not buying that. It's still really weird.
I think it's just a weird decision.
The reason they don't do Saturday games until after college football ends is because of college football.
No, that's for sure, and that makes sense. You don't want to step on the toes of college football.
Yeah. Plus, you're gonna have your scouts there and everything. So
yeah, and also you're gonna have. There's a lot of regions of the country that prefer college football. There's a lot of people in general that prefer college football. So
yeah,
you're in a better space by not trying to compete with college football.
Yeah, exactly.
So the games, I haven't filled out. We do a weekly pick'ems. I haven't filled them out yet, but I remember when you were over at my house earlier, you were talking about how everybody was pretty unanimous. So the first game is Lions and Packers, then the Commanders and Cowboys, and then the Niners and Seahawks. I mean, look, obviously you hope for an upset in there, but I think it's pretty clear that it's going to go Lions, Cowboys, Niners. Especially the Seahawks might be down there. The one game that could be an upset could be the Seahawks-Niners game, but Geno might miss the game. Kenneth Walker is all but guaranteed to miss the game.
Yeah.
So that's the one that fully healthy. Maybe there's an upset there, but probably not going to happen. The Commanders have the worst defense in the league, so they're not beating the Cowboys.
The Cowboys or the Commanders, they traded away their 2 best defensive players,
and their defense has gotten much worse.
Oh, it's so bad.
So bad.
The freaking Giants. But I think the only real upset that can happen here, and I'm sorry, Seahawks fans, but I think the only upset that I'm taking is maybe the Packers over the Lions.
But they're beat to crap too. Packers could be without their starting 2 running backs. They're missing probably missing one of their receivers, a bunch of players on their defense. Because
Dontavian Wicks they're going to be without him.
Because A.J. Dillon has a groin injury, so he might miss the game as well. The groin injury, those soft tissue muscle injuries are pretty difficult to come back for. So the teams that you could see upset, the Packers have been playing better in recent weeks, and it is a divisional opponent, but it's in Detroit, and the Packers have all those injuries they're dealing with, and I don't trust Jordan Love. I mean, I think again, I'm just going to tell you now, I'm going to go with just a clean sweep of who you expect to win. I'm going clean favorites all the way there.
I am as well. I picked the Lions, but I'm just saying, like, if kind of like how we were talking about like the heavy favorite ticket last week.
Yeah, this will be a heavy
like,
favorite ticket tomorrow.
This is a heavy favorite ticket, and like out of the ones, like who has the highest chance of actually like
I
breaking
certainly hope.
the ticket?
I certainly hope for an upset in there somewhere, but it's just not going to happen.
I hope for a shootout with the Lions and Packers because I'm on Ross St. Brown.
Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta.
I hope Saquon goes off. He traded me in a dynasty league. He traded me Saquon for Sam Laporta, and Saquon had 30. And how much did Laporta have?
7.
Yeah.
In tight end premium.
And a tight end premium too, which would have been like 6.5 probably normal. I think he went like 3 for 33.
I looked it up on Keep Trade Cut because I was kind of like, do I ask for anything else in return?
I don't know if I would have done anything else.
But like I looked at it and I'm
like,
like,
most a third.
Without the tight end premium, I was already winning, and with the tight end premium, I was winning by like 2,000.
Yeah, dude, he's 22 years old, like 22, 23 years old, and a running back.
Saquon's on a 1 year contract, and I'm loaded at running backs. Like if we're being honest, so
I am now. Not loaded, but I feel great about it.
I mean, I'm less loaded than I was before, but I mean,
I feel great. I traded Aaron Jones for a first and pick swap. For Josh Downs, a first and a pick swap.
We've now gotten to the ridiculous part of the stream. And so this man, and I'm co-commissioned with him in this league along with someone else. And I brought up the discussion that like, yo, this needs to be like looked at because that was just so one-sided. And the thing is that the person that he traded with, I should say, actually preferred to get fleeced harder over the initial trade that he sent. It was Aaron Jones for Josh Downs in a second.
No, the first offer I sent was Aaron Jones for Josh Downs in a second. He said no. Then I said, okay, what about Aaron Jones for Josh Downs in a second? And he said no on the basis of he didn't have any picks this year. I don't think he has any picks this year. So he wanted, he didn't want to be giving up even more picks. I'm like, okay, I have 1 pick this year. It's projected to be a very good second round pick. It's projected to be like the 3rd pick in the second round. So it's a very good pick. Don't get it twisted. Very good pick. But I offered then after he said no to the second, I'm like, well, I'll give you my second this year for your second next year and a first. Look, I sent the screenshots, put it in the group chat. Y'all saw what I offered. And y'all saw what he accepted.
It's so ridiculous. Like that. The reason that the reason it wasn't vetoed is because he showed us those, and I let it slide after that. But it's still like, bro, what? Given, I'm guilty of fleecing him as well. But
that's the only time I've ever actually fleeced him. Don't get it twisted. I did not fleece him with the Stephon Diggs trade.
I fleeced him twice. So the first time I sent him $50 in fab for a second round pick this year.
That's not in the entirety of it, but
no, that was the entirety of. Oh, it was also Demario
Douglas. But he cut him, so yeah.
Like 2 days later, like bro. And then who has him now? I think it's Mannon has him now. He picked him up, and because Demario Douglas is actually like
he's the only thing
10 points per game. He's like 10 points per game right now. So there's that, and so I got the second round pick, and then later in the year, I needed a receiver that's like kind of good right now. So I had Jaden Reed on my taxi. So I traded Jaden Reed to him. I offered him a much better trade at first. I offered him like 2 first round picks, or 3 first round picks for Devontae Adams, Tyler Lockett, and I was also sending him Jaden Reed, and a second. And he's like, "Oh, I'm not trading Devontae Adams, but I'll send you Tyler Lockett." Or no, Tyler Lockett wasn't in the trade the first time.
What's the trade that ended up being?
So then he countered with Tyler Lockett, and I said I'm not doing the first then. So I gave him just Jaden Reed for second and Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
It's
and
bad.
given Jaden Reed is a rookie and he's looking really good. He's looking. I mean, he scored a lot more points this season than Christian Watson, and more consistently too.
Yeah, but Watson's been beat up all year, so it's kind of hard to judge who's really better.
Yeah, but I kind of like that young wide receiving core between him, Dobbs, and Watson. But yeah, that's just it was a little bit egregious. I did try to trade Lockett at the deadline
To me,
because he's just old. I tried trading him to everybody. Don't feel special.
I am special though. I'm hungry,
I-
so we're gonna call it there. I'm so freaking starving.
You
Thank
gonna
y'all
get
for
some
watching.
Chick-fil-A?
When I went to meet up with Zoe earlier,
Yes.
no, it recommended Chick-fil-A earlier. I was so mad. But thank you all very much for watching today.
Funny enough, I went to Chick-fil-A after I left you.
I'm going to Chick-fil-A probably right now. Hit the like button, hit a sub. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the games. Go Dolphins. We'll have a video up probably tomorrow, maybe.